Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Bernstein. I'm the Planning Board Attorney for the Township of Hillsborough Planning Board. I welcome you to the Hillsborough Township Planning Board Reorganization Meeting of January 8th, 2015. I'd like everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting has been duly advertised in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, also known as the Sunshine Law. I will now administer the oath of office to the newly appointed members of the board, which are as follows. Deputy Mayor Greg Burchett for seat 1, Michael Merdinger for seat 2, Committeeman Frank Delcor for seat 3, Dr. Daniel Marulli for seat 5, and Robert Peason for alternate seat number 1. Gentlemen, if you would. The beauty of no Bible and joint and massive swearing. I state your name.
I, Robert Peason,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the governments
in the
established
United States
in
the United States,
and in this state
and
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of the office of Planning Board Member
of the office
of
of
Planning Board Member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Lucille, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Wagner.
Here.
Mr. Julian.
Here.
Dr. Marulli.
Here.
Dr. Cerisi.
Here.
Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Mr. Merdinger.
Here.
Mr. Peason.
Here.
Mr. Lapani.
Here.
Committeeman Delcor.
Here.
And Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Here. The next order of business is to the election of a chairman of the Planning Board for 2015. I'll open nominations for a section. Everybody rush.
I'll nominate Dr. Cerisi.
Second. Are there any other nominations other than Dr. Cerisi for chair? Motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Marulli.
Yes.
Dr. Cerisi.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Motion to appoint Dr. Stephen Cerisi as chairman of the Hillsborough Township Planning Board for calendar year 2015. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Marulli.
Yes.
Dr. Cerisi.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman, congratulations. It's all yours.
You gotta see if you can do it with a straight face through the end.
Sean, you're feeling chipper tonight.
I'm on it. Cold weather.
Okay, next up, election of the vice chairman. Nominations, please.
I'll nominate Steve Cohen.
Second.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, motion to close nominations and elect Steve Cohen vice chair of the board.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Marulli.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi.
Yes.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Steve.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Election of secretary. Has to be a class 4, right? Regular?
You class 4 or an alternate.
Or an alternate.
Who was the secretary last, of the end of the year? Who did we hear?
Oh, yeah, who was at the end of the year? Because it was Todd, and then he left
Todd.
the board. Right.
Well, it was me, but I wasn't here.
Well, that's what happens. You're not here, so you get elected. It works that
I
way.
remember Rob doing some signatures.
Yeah, Dan was out. I nominate Dr. Dan Maruli.
I'll say that. He spoke first.
Strike while the iron's hot.
I seconded that.
Oh, okay.
I'll
All
second
right.
that.
Any other nominations? Now's your chance to get him back there. Hearing none, motion to close nominations and elect Dan Maruli, secretary.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Suso.
Yes. Congratulations and thank you, Dr. Dan.
No more broken feet.
Yeah, no more excuses.
Okay.
Straight up.
Resolution ratifying the fair and open selection process. So you have that in your packet, if you want to have a look at it.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Suso.
Yes. Next up is the appointment of the board attorney. Using the process, one attorney put in a bid and was reviewed favorably, and that is Eric Bernstein and Associates. Do I have a motion to appoint Eric Bernstein and Associates Board Attorney
So
for
moved.
2015? Yes?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, boy.
Well, there was nobody else.
Scared them
That's
away.
why. That's why I asked why.
Well, pass your bar exam or something, and we can appoint. Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
And Chairman Dr. Suso.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Our pleasure. Next up is appointment of board engineer. We did get two bids, Mazer Consulting, primary representative William White, Carroll Engineering, primary representative Richard Brown. Do we have a nomination for the appointment of the board engineer?
Mazer Engineering. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Suso.
Yes. Bill?
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Next up, appointment of alternate board engineer, and for this, there was only one bid from Carroll Engineering, Richard Brown, primary representative.
So moved.
Say second.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Suso.
Yes. Next up is appointment of court reporter, and the bid we got is from the incomparable Lucille Grzinski.
So moved.
Second. Third. Sorry.
Just more for her to type. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
And Chairman Dr. Suso.
Yes.
Thank you.
It could be none other. Thank you, Lucille. Board videographer. Only bid, Premier Media LLC, Kaz Bielen. Also incomparable, though we don't hear from him.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Suso.
Yes. Next up is the appointment of the Master Plan Subcommittee, which is typically done by the chairman. So I would appoint myself, Mr. Merdinger, if he's agreeable. I don't know which of the two township committee members would, okay, Deputy Mayor Burchett and Mr. Oh, no, because you're busy.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Mr. Wagner,
What's that?
Master Plan Subcommittee?
Yes, that would.
Absolutely. And alternate Committeeman Delcor.
Close,
Thank you.
clean getaway.
Yeah. You have other things to do. Watch after my tax money.
Yeah.
Rules of order. We have to adopt the rules of order. They are in your packet. They call for regular meetings. The first,
Do you have to vote?
We vote on that?
Foster?
do you want to vote, we vote on that? Because we didn't always in the past. I mean, I've been here 13 years. We didn't always vote on that, but we can.
Subcommittee, on the,
No, I mean,
Since I'm on it, I would like a vote.
oh, you would like a vote? Okay, very good. Anyone ask for a vote? You got it. So,
voice
a vote endorsing my appointments. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Those who are appointed.
They need to speak for themselves. So their appointment is confirmed and ratified.
Thank you.
Very good. No, really, seriously, years ago, we didn't actually do that.
Because Mr. Wagner asked for it.
Okay, that's no problem.
I was being appeased.
Rules of order. So the rules of order are in your packet. The regular meetings are typically first and second Thursday of the month, given that there's business at 7:30. No new business is considered after 10, and no meeting past 10:30 unless agreed to by the majority. And the officers, and then the order of business, which is typical for all our meetings that we're all familiar with.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi.
Yes. Next up is the resolution designating the official newspaper. The resolution's in your packet. The determination that we'd be making is that the Beacon and the Courier News have the greatest likelihood of informing the public, that the Beacon is designated as the official newspaper, but the Courier News, I guess, would be the alternate then. Being that one is weekly and the other is daily, it's good to do that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
And Chairman Dr. Cerisi.
Yes. Next up, resolution fixing charge for notice of meetings, and that's in your packet as well.
So moved.
Just let him get it out of his mouth.
Second.
No, it's all right, it's in your packet as well.
It's in your packet.
It's in your packet.
It's in your packet.
Roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi.
Yes. Next up is the resolution setting the schedule of meetings. They're in your packet, we won't list them all right now. There is both regular and business meetings that are involved in that. And it has been moved by Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi.
Yes. Next up, the resolution of open meeting policy, again, a routine thing every year, that these are public meetings and public participation is, of course, allowed. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Mr. Lapani.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi.
Yes. Final resolution is the adoption of the administrative procedures, which are in your packet, several pages of them, not to be repeated at this moment. Is there a motion adopting them?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Dr. Maruly?
Yes.
Mr. Merninger?
Yes.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes.
Committeeman Delacqua?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi?
Yes. And that's it, really, so just a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. The regular meeting will be at 7:30. Kaz? Okay. Mike, we ready? Okay. Welcome to the Hillsborough Township Planning Board public meeting of January 8th, 2015. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting has been duly advertised according to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, known as the Sunshine Law. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Julian?
Here.
Dr. Maruly?
Here.
Mr. Merninger?
Present.
Mr. Peason?
Here.
Mr. Lapani?
Here.
Vice Chairman Cohen?
Here.
Committeeman Delacqua?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Here.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi?
Here. First up, disposition of minutes. These are the minutes of the December 11, 2014 meeting.
Mr. Burchett, Mr. Merdinger, Mr. Cohen, Mr. Julian, the chair, and Mr. Peason and Mr. Lapani.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Mr. Merninger?
Yes.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi?
Yes. Next up are the resolutions for the professionals' contracts. We do them one at a time, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay. First up is Planning Board Attorney, and the resolution's in front of you.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Dr. Maruly?
Yes.
Mr. Merninger?
Yes.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes.
Committeeman Delacqua?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi?
Yes. Next up, Planning Board Engineer.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Dr. Maruly?
Yes.
Mr. Merninger?
Yes.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes.
Committeeman Delacqua?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi?
Yes. Next up, Planning Board Alternate Engineer.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Dr. Maruly?
Yes.
Mr. Merninger?
Yes.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani? Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes.
Committeeman Delacqua?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi?
Yes. Next up, Court Reporter.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Dr. Maruly?
Yes.
Mr. Merninger?
Yes.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes.
Committeeman Delacqua?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi?
Yes. And Board Videographer.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Dr. Maruly?
Yes.
Mr. Merninger?
Yes.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes.
Committeeman Delacqua?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi?
Yes. Next, we have to adopt the Planning Board Annual Report for 2014. It is in front of you in your packet.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on it? Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Dr. Maruly?
Yes.
Mr. Merninger?
Yes.
Mr. Peason?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen?
Yes.
Committeeman Delacqua?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
Chairman Dr. Cerisi?
Yes. And I would point out at this time that there's correspondence, which will be the Board of Adjustment Annual Report for 2014, and that's in your packet as well. Any business from the floor from items not on the agenda? The public hearing for Viator Corporation is on the agenda, so if you're here for that, that's coming up next. Okay? Seeing none, we will get to that public hearing. Subdivision site plan application, Viator Corporation, file 14 PB 22 SR, block 201, lot 7.01, 500 Willow Road. Applicant seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval to remove all existing buildings and parking at the site to construct a new manufacturing facility in phases. The subject of this application to be a 62,232 square foot building on property in the TECD district. Counselor?
Good evening, members of the planning board.
I would just say, Counselor, before, I don't mean to be rude, but always with that mobile mic, hold that close to your mouth and speak up.
How's this?
So that, because this is for the videotape, and even if you think you're being heard here, you're not being heard on the videotape.
Thank you. My name is Alexander Fisher, the law firm Morrow, Savo, Camarino, Grant, and Schalk, and I am the attorney for the applicant, Viator Corporation, in this matter. My role here is to answer any legal questions you may have for the applicant. In this application, Viator seeks preliminary and final site plan approval to construct a 62,232 square foot light manufacturing facility for the production of vitamins and food type pharmaceutical materials. Viator is not requesting any variances or design waivers for the site. The previous use of this site was a much more intense manufacturing facility than is proposed today, with much more parking and many more employees. You'll hear testimony today that the proposed facility will only have a single 9-to-5 shift with 15 to 20 employees, and will only have 1 to 2 truck deliveries per week, both of which represent a significant decrease from the prior facility. Over time, as you probably know, the previous facility was abandoned and became blighted before Viator acquired the subject property. Viator proposes to replace it with a clean, modern, safe, and efficient facility, and you'll hear testimony that all of the woodlands on the eastern side of the property are being maintained and will remain untouched, that additional buffering is being added to the property, that the Willow Road buffer provided by Viator is roughly 3 times that required by the ordinance, and that the facility will comply with all local, state, and federal regulations. We have 4 witnesses for the board this evening. First, we have John Tang, the CEO of Viator, and he'll testify as to the use and operation of the facility. Second, Michael Ford of Van Cleef Engineering will provide expert engineering testimony for this application. Third, Mark Redmond of Hendon and Redmond will provide expert architectural testimony. And finally, Gary Dean of Dolan and Dean Consulting Engineers will provide expert traffic testimony. And if there are no questions for me from the board, I would like to have Mr. Tang come up and be sworn in.
Certainly.
Raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. State your full name, spelling your last name.
My name is John Tan. I'm the CEO of Viator Corporation, the applicant for this application.
Just spell your last name, please, sir.
My last name spelled as a T as in Tom, A and G.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can be seated if you
Thank
want.
you, sir.
Please proceed.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tang.
Mr. Fisher, you're going to need to move that closer to you.
How's that?
That's much better. Thank you.
Could you tell the board what type of manufacturing operations will occur at this facility?
Yes, of course. The manufacturing process involves the dry mixing and the liquid mixing of vitamins and other food pharmaceutical products in a sealed containers.
All right. And will there be any fermentation occurring at the facility?
No, there's no fermentation at all.
How many employees do you anticipate having at the facility?
We expect there will be 15 to 20 employees after the phase 1 construction finished.
And what hours do you anticipate the facility operating?
We expect only one shift from 9 to 5 normal business hour.
And after 5 p.m., will there be operations at the facility?
No.
All right. And how many trucks do you plan on having at the facility per week?
Our calculation is 1 truckload per week, 1 or 2.
And will the facility comply with all local, state, and federal standards to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, it will. I happen to be the attorney of New Jersey and New York. I will see through this.
Do you have any current plans to develop the potential phase 2 of the facility as shown on the site plan?
Yes, we do envision developing phase 2, but it depends on the success of phase 1 project.
All right. And do you have any current plans to change the agricultural use on the rear portion of the lot?
No, we don't.
If there are any questions from the board as to the operations?
On-offs after 5 o'clock, do you intend to have anybody, do you intend to have any workers at the plant from 5 o'clock on? Cleaning crew, security, purchasing, inventory control?
There will be personnel on the property because it will be a big property and there holds variable inventory and there will be security there. But there's no staff or employee working, keep the machine running or no operation at all.
So you're saying there's no manufacturing outside of the
No.
hours?
But there'll be people there after 5 o'clock.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the manufacturing is Monday through Friday, or 6 days or 7 days? How many days a week would you anticipate?
Our normal business hour will be Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Okay.
And because I may add something, because the production capacity is 1,000 tons a year, which is pretty light. You know, if you divide it by 52 weeks, it's turning out about 20 tons a week, which only half load of container.
Okay.
As part of your mixture of your vitamins and food work, what agencies are you governed by as far as sort of checking on the production of your work? Is it FDA? Is there other any requirements?
To the best of my knowledge, we are
actually. Is the mic off? Okay.
Oh.
Or you can use the.
Why don't you use the one behind you?
Actually, if you want,
yeah,
use that one.
I'm so grateful, get so much help. It's we are manufacturing. We are a pharmaceutical company, and our product mostly is human nutrition or nutrition for animal feeds. So, according to the laws and the regulation in the United States, food actually it's regulated by FDA. And so basically, we go one step further, and we try to make this entire operation a clean room operation. It meets the pharmaceutical manufacturing standard.
So just so I'm clear, is there those agencies do have oversight over your production or your goods?
FDA will come from time to time on site to check the manufacturing process, also check on the finished good. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, it's the Food and Drug Administration.
That's why I wanted to I just wanted to be sure. That's
no,
all.
I'm in. Yeah, you can be assured. There's actually a division based in northern New Jersey for inspecting facilities.
Yes, FDA does have a field office in New Jersey.
They have a field office in northern New Jersey,
yes,
as I'm well aware. Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I have one.
Yes.
In general, what kind of waste product is generated from this facility?
Yes, it's a good question. I think everyone cares about this.
Try to speak very.
All right. The waste product from the operation of the manufacturing facility is zero because we put ingredient in a sealed container, mix it, then the output is still the same ingredients. But during the process, we might need to clean these machines. So there might be some kind of water, rinse the machines with some residue of ingredients, and that's all. Those ingredients will be, human nutrition vitamins. Yeah. Also, if I may add, there will be a lab, quality control lab, at the facility to check on the quality of the product, make sure the completed product was strictly consistent with the formula provided by customers. So in the lab, there might be some waste, but the dispose of those waste, a small quantity, will be in compliance of laws and the regulation, will be handled by third-party companies.
Going to the question regarding the rinsing of your equipment, what happens to the rinse water, the leftover water? How do you remove that water?
That water, we basically will test those water, and if it meets the standard of disposed into the sewage, it will go that way. Otherwise, it will be treated.
On site, or you'll have to?
On site.
Oh, you won't have to have it picked up?
No. That water basically, I don't know the technical term of this treatment, but the water will be stay there for a certain period of time. Then all the ingredient, all the grains, in the water will be sediments. Yeah.
Bill, why don't you ask questions if you have any? No? Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
So is there any air permits needed for any of the batch processes or any of the like fume hoods in the labs? Are there any air permits required by the DEP?
As far as I know, no.
You don't know, or not?
I know that there's no such requirements because we don't, there's no air actually was discharged from the operation from the lab.
Okay. Any other? Yes.
I would simply ask Dr. Cerisi, as indicated in the planning report, whether pre-treatment is required by the Hillsborough MUA of your wastewater.
That may be a better question for Mr. Ford.
Right.
Yes, we're assuming we're going to be talking to Mr. Ford about the engineering of your plant. You're just describing its business operation.
Yes, thank you.
Right. Any other questions? I would be disposed to hear more witnesses before, or... Oh, do you one at a time? Okay, that's fine. Let's do it that way, too. Motion to open to public?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. If there are any questions for this witness who would speak on the business operations and not on the engineering details of the facility, raise your hand and you can come up and ask a question. Yes, ma'am, you had a... No, come up to the microphone. You have to. The format is you come up to the microphone and you identify yourself for the court stenographer, and then, ask the question of the...
You can use the
You could use that one right there.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
My name is Kelly Whaley, and I would like to know what is Phase 2,
Okay.
and if there are other phases beyond that, including growth in the amount of people working, growth in the plant, possibly adding a second shift. What is Phase 2 would be the beginning now.
I think at least for an engineering description of Phase 2, it would be best suited for Mr. Ford's answer, but Mr. Tang can testify as to the business
The business aspect of it,
Phase
yes.
2.
Just the business aspect of it.
Thank you, ma'am, for the questions. And for the phase 2, as I said, it depends on the success of phase 1. So logically, phase 2 will be added a capacity to phase 1. If our product, meets great demand, we expand it to add more operations similar to phase 1 to phase 2.
So you would just be making more of the same type of product?
Yes.
Would it entail any other significant other modifications other than just, say, another manufacturing line?
At this point, no.
To the business.
If you look at the map, I'm actually go step further. Look at the map. The phase 2 will be symmetric to phase 1. So we intentionally made this way. So phase 2 will be, from the engineering point of view, it will be much easier. We can copy the phase 1 design.
And if when phase 2, if and when it was fully operational, would it then mean almost an exact doubling of employees, or less than a doubling, or more? How many more employees would it be?
I believe it will be less than doubling, because some of the employee can be used for the operation on both sides.
Okay.
So just to be clear, from your standpoint, the issue of expanding to phase 2 would not occur in the facility that you're building for phase 1.
Phase 2 will be in a building adjacent to the phase 1.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the
So
same.
it's another building, so it's another construction. It's another building, it's another, I guess, production line.
Yes.
And then it'd be the workers, right? Is that what you're?
Yes.
Okay. And would it have the same hours of operation as the phase 1 building?
Same hours.
Same hours.
Which would require a new site plan or a new application.
Yeah.
That is correct. And I'd just like to clarify that this application is not for phase 2 in any way, shape, or form, and that the applicant has not even decided at this time whether or not to build a second phase, but has provided as a courtesy for the board and as good planning and engineering to show it on the plan as a possibility for the future.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilor. I just wanted to be sure that they couldn't accommodate phase 2 in the building they're building for phase 1. That's what.
And Mr. Ford will testify that
Okay.
it will be another building on the lot. So.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Gordon?
Name is Dale Gordon, and I have a clarification. You say this is a pharmaceutical firm?
Yes, I did.
And what you've been describing, though, was supplements and food additives for animals. Is that, am I correct on that?
Our product will be.
Oh, no, you got to use the
microphone.
microphone. It's all right, you're not, I mean, if you want to pick it up and face them, that's fine, but it's important that everybody hear you.
Microphones drive you nuts.
No, I know, we just want everybody to be heard.
Yeah,
That's it. Jeez.
This is high tech.
I start learning this. It's a pharmaceutical company. I put this in rather general terms, and we are the manufacturer of human nutrition and full grade vitamins only. We don't touch other kind of drugs, prescription drugs. No.
Okay. If he doesn't want to hit me, in the article that he wrote on the 25th of December, in the his newspaper, the Beacon, he described some pharmaceuticals where you investigate resistant viruses, antibiotics, viruses, and is that what you're planning also doing in your company?
No, I don't even know where this article from, because I have nothing to do with this. I don't know the answer about this.
Good job, Gene.
Maybe the paper got it wrong, but it wouldn't be the first time the press got something wrong. However, we got to go by the testimony. So your sworn testimony is you're not interested in infectious diseases or in the manufacturing that has to do with infectious diseases.
No, because all my plan or purpose is try to make a contribution to the house.
No. That's fine. No, I get it. If you were going to So let me try to re-ask this. I'm in the industry, by the way, if you haven't guessed, so.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So are you going to have any laboratories that work with live organisms?
No.
Okay. Do you have any intent of working with dead organisms? Because sometimes you can work with dead organisms or parts of organisms.
No.
Okay.
Everything, all the ingredients, product, half completed product or completed product will be just chemicals. It's like vitamins. We label it as chemicals.
Okay. Do you have any intention of working with antibiotics, which themselves are not organisms, they're to kill organisms, but are you have any intention of manufacturing antibiotics?
No, of course not.
Okay.
I don't know nothing about antibiotics.
Okay.
I can't manufacture this.
Okay. That's fine. Well, you could always hire someone who knew something about it.
Then I will let everyone know.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I'm not applying. I work with contrast media and radiopharmaceuticals. I'm on the nuclear side, actually. So,
Thank you.
Okay. We've got that as your testimony. Thank you. Questions? Other questions? Yes.
I'm Bill Martin from 237 Hillsborough Road, Hillsborough, New Jersey. I'm not sure if this is the time to address this or not.
Well, talk a little louder. But I mean, if it's not, we'll let you know, or he'll let you know.
The newspaper article had mentioned also that they were asking for an exemption from a requirement for a community impact statement, and we collected a petition asking that there is a community impact statement. And in here, we also had put about a valid traffic study because that one seemed very flawed to us, but he does seem to have addressed a lot of the questions we had on that.
Okay.
So is the petition the time do we put in now?
Do they do that do we accept that as
We accept the petition for purposes.
and we mark that as like a O1, objector evidence, or how do we do that?
I think we mark it as P1, public one.
Public one. Okay, so we'll take that and we'll mark that as P1, public one evidence, the petition, if you want to launch it. Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure we do that correctly. You mentioned that he's mentioned that you mentioned about the traffic. Now, the community impact statement. Would you like to explain that? Was it Bruce? What that's about?
I think the applicant should explain the reason why they're asking for such a waiver.
Okay, we'd do it that way. That's fine. Go ahead, Counselor.
I think this question would also be better addressed to Mr. Ford, but I can state on behalf of the applicant that we are providing the board with extensive testimony tonight, which will address community impacts.
Okay, so you're going to have Mr. Ford ultimately address it.
Yes.
Okay, so when Mr. Ford comes up, I'm going to ask him about that one. Okay. Any other questions for this witness on the business? Yes, ma'am. Sometimes I see Kaz's hand go up, so I get distracted. I'm sorry, but.
Suzanne Oxy, 425 Willow Road. In the public notice, it indicated there's you're asking for approval in phases. So I'm confused. Are you here for phases 1 and 2 or phase 1? I'm not sure why you're here.
Counselor?
I can clarify that. This is absolutely just a phase 1. Phase 2 hasn't, the applicant has testified that they haven't even decided whether or not they're going to seek approval for phase 2 at some point in the future, which will be back, if they do so, for a separate approval process.
So in the paper where it says phases, that's incorrect?
No, it's not incorrect. If the project is built and a second phase is decided, then then they'll come back for another phase.
So what you're saying, Counselor, is that if you do at some point in the future, given that this was approved now and at some point in the future the business owner wants phase 2, you come back here and have another hearing. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
So this public notice shouldn't have said something about phases. Is that right?
No, it can speak as to the fact that there may be phases, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for this witness on the nature of the business? Seeing none, oh, I'm sorry, there is one now. Come up.
Michael Sirocco, 32 Francis Drive. Just for Mr. Tang, from a business standpoint, what was so attractive about the site for your, to choose to put this plant here?
Remember the microphone, Mr. Tang.
Thank you.
Preach.
I think we choose this site based on several factors.
Ms. Tang, sit down, because I don't want you to pull the wire out, but you need
Yeah,
to
you
be
don't have
close
to
the
look at
mic.
me, it's okay.
We choose this site based on several factors about the business environments, and also for the convenience to the transportations and to the port, and then also the local support, which I expect here tonight. And most important thing, we actually searched the different kind of land through New Jersey. This is a suit our purpose. And then also it's a cost effective. Also, we're talking about price, the cost of land, cost of development. It's like on the totality of all these factors.
Mr. Tang, you said because of the port and transportation, will the majority of your goods coming into the plant be from overseas and therefore through the port, or will you be shipping out of the port? I guess what I'm getting at is the trucks that will be coming to the site and the traffic coming in and out of the site, will they be Route 287 bound, Turnpike bound up to the port? Will it be 206 traffic? Where are you shipping to and getting your products from?
Most of the product and the incoming product ingredients will be from overseas, shipped here by ship, right? But I believe the most important fact is the traffic, because our production capacities indicated we only need 1 truckload of shipment a week. That's all. 1 truck come in. That's it.
1 truck a week.
Yeah. It's 20 tons.
Okay, thank you.
We have to go on the testimony. Any other questions for this witness on the business? Seeing none this time, you can call your next witness, Counselor.
Mr. Ford?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. State your name, please.
How about using the one behind you for now?
Yes, I do.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Michael Ford, F-O-R-D, with Van Cleef Engineering Associates, a licensed professional engineer and planner in the state of New Jersey, and I've appeared before this board on numerous occasions.
Thank you. Accepted.
Have you accepted it as a...
Yes, we've seen, Mr. Ford's been in front of us many times. Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I think what I'd like to do first is maybe put up 2 exhibits so we could take a look at the site, both the existing conditions or pre-existing conditions and proposed conditions, and we'll label them A1 and A2.
Second.
Okay. What we've put up on the ledge are 2 exhibits The left exhibit is the site in its pre-existing condition. As was stated at the onset of the application, this was a pre-developed property, and that's labeled A1, and that's consistent with sheet 2 in the set of plans that was submitted as part of the application. And then the exhibit on the right is the proposed condition for the application as has been submitted. That is sheet 3 with the landscaping overlay on it as was submitted as part of the application. First, just
use the other one behind you.
Just use the other one.
thank you. Oh, that's better.
We're better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. This property is a 20.84 acre parcel of land at the southwest corner or intersection of Homestead Road and Willow Road. It's in the economic transitional economic development zone. I don't often get to say this, so it's an application void of any variances and or design waivers. It complies with the ordinance in all respects, and that would include the permitted uses. First, with regards to the pre-existing condition, as is illustrated on the left exhibit, colorized, there were existing buildings there. I'll say 2 buildings. The rear buildings, the larger square buildings, are connected by a breezeway, so that was a singular office structure of some 43,000 square feet. Initially constructed in the 70s, housing Nichols Engineering. At some point after Nichols Engineering vacated the site, it was the offices of the Hillsborough Board of Education. The smaller building closer to Homestead Road, which is parallel to the top of the page of the exhibit, is a more, I'll say, linear, narrow building. That was 18,600 square foot, approximately laboratory building, which housed Elizabethtown Water Company before they relocated to their current facility on Raider Boulevard. They're still in Hillsborough. The large gray areas on that existing condition map illustrate the extensive amount of parking that was constructed to support those prior uses of the property, and that was some 240 parking spaces. And then just as an illustration in comparison to the proposed facility, and I think this illustrates the change or reduction in the intensity of the use, we're going from the 240 parking spaces that were required to support that prior initial use to some 44 parking spaces in the proposed condition. And that is in compliance with the ordinance for this manufacturing facility. We're not asking for any variance or reduction in the required number of parking spaces. And as has been stated already, we're expecting only about 20 employees, so you can see that the 44 parking spaces is certainly adequate. And also, I think it is a good opportunity to point out that this is not a destination site. This is not a retail facility. This is not where we would expect the public to come. This is for the owner's manufacturing of his product. Okay. The right side of the property, or I'll say the west side of the property, fronting Willow Road. Interesting enough, the property, when it was developed in the 70s, was assigned a Willow Road address, 500 Willow Road. That street address has actually since just recently been reassigned to Homestead Road because the prior operation of the facility had only access from Homestead Road. There wasn't an access from Willow Road. There's actually 4 driveways, or was existing 4 driveways to Homestead Road. As illustrated on the proposed condition, we're reducing that to 2. The Willow Road portion of the property, the easterly portion, has a stream running parallel to Willow Road, essentially, and there's actually a main sewer trunk line running along that stream. That portion of the property will remain untouched. We're not proposing any development in that area. And again, this is something that, as you know, our office has handled many site plans, and I've appeared before this board on numerous occasions, and it's not often that I can say that there are no DEP permits required for this site plan. We're not impacting any floodplains, any wetlands. We're not looking to reduce the buffers of any wetlands or intrude into any of those environmentally sensitive areas, and that wooded area paralleling Willow Road will remain untouched. And the building setback, and you can see now, and I'll refer to the proposed condition on the right, the building setback for the proposed condition is approximately at the same location, about 350 feet from Willow Road as it is or was in the pre-existing condition. And if anybody's been by the site recently, you'll see that since the applicants have acquired the site, they have begun some preparation for the redevelopment of the site by demolishing just this past year the existing structures. And that was done with complete approval from the Soil Erosion and Sediment Control District as well as the Township for a demolition permit. By virtue of it previously being developed, we have the public sewer on site, not just access to it, but actually running through the property, as well as public water. So the proposed condition will again be serviced by those same service laterals for the public sewer and water. And we would anticipate that the total flow, the impact on the sewer, will be reduced as opposed to what the prior uses were, which were more intense with wastewater disposal. And we do have a letter from the Hillsborough Township Municipal Utilities Authority saying that sewer service is available. Of course, they don't guarantee it, and we have submitted an application to confirm sewage availability. And because the flow is reduced or minimal, no extension of the public sewer facilities, there's no DEP permit required for the public sewer, only the HTMUA approval. And that is pending. We also have an application pending, or have submitted to the Somerset County Planning Board. We've received a comment letter from them. Their only request, and we'll comply with this request, is that a bridge easement be provided for the culvert that for the stream that flows right under Homestead Road near the intersection of Homestead Road and Willow Road. We've also applied for the site plan application for approval from the Somerset County or Somerset Union Soil Conservation District, and we've actually received that approval. We've also applied to the DNR Canal Commission. We've received comments from the DNR Canal Commission in December and have already prepared a response and made that submittal back to the DNR Canal Commission, and will comply with all of their requirements. Okay. For the proposed condition, the right rendering, the site plan with the landscaping overlay. You'll see that we've taken the 4 access points to Homestead Road and reduced them to 2. We've provided for a circular driveway basically around the entire developed portion of the site, and that's the northerly portion of the site where the building is proposed, parking between the 2 driveways. And I think this is important, and this was developed out of the evolution of concept plans for the project, where we have taken the parking, put it in front of the building so that any truck deliveries don't have to drive through the parking. So the truck entering the site from Homestead Road could traverse to the rear of the property where the loading docks are without having to drive through and have that potential conflict between vehicular traffic and pedestrians entering the building and those trucks. This is a planning safety concern. The stormwater management. The property flows prominently toward Homestead Road. The existing pre-developed facility essentially had no stormwater management. We are providing for an on-site infiltration basin immediately adjacent to Homestead Road and in the northwesterly corner of the property. That'll be a vegetated basin with not only a lawn area and grass, but with plantings. So it's not the, I'll say, the typical of some time ago facility where you have that concrete low flow channel down the middle of the basin. So it's more of a natural looking environment. And that's along Homestead Road between the parking and Homestead Road. And it provides for a nice visual buffer screen between the building and Homestead Road. Phase 1, Phase 2. Maybe this is a time to address that. There's been several questions about that. And if the mobile mic moves for a minute, maybe forward. Can you hear me? Okay. Phase 2 is been developed as part of the plan, just as a good engineering and planning tool. And all it essentially involves, and it's shown conceptually on this site plan, and you can see that the development of the plan that we're seeking approval for plans or would accommodate that readily. And that is simply just an extension of the Phase 1 building to the west, not on the Willow Road side, to the west, and a similar loading dock at the back of it, similar to the Phase 1 building, and a similar parking across the front of it, similar to the Phase 1 building. So it's basically just a flip or mirror image of the Phase 1 building. And we've already developed the circulation for the driveway pattern to accommodate that potential future building expansion. And when I say Phase 2, it's really in addition to the Phase 1 building. Setback criteria. As I've said, we comply with all of the zoning criteria for the transitional economic development zone. I'd like to highlight that while 60% impervious coverage is permitted in this zone, 60%, the existing condition, the left exhibit, is at 20%, whereas the proposed condition for Phase 1 is at 14%. So there's actually a reduction. Even though there's a reduction, we're still providing for stormwater management as if there's no credit given for the existing. And in the Phase 2, again, we're not seeking approval for it, but we've already planned for it as far as our infrastructure. That is the driveway in and out and the stormwater management system would bring the...
Oh, yeah, use the other cord.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just use that.
There you go. Would bring us up to 22.5%, so just slightly greater than the existing condition, and the stormwater management system has been designed to accommodate that as well. Again, this is for approval of the site plan as shown in the rendering illustration on the right. Should the applicant choose to move forward with the Phase 2 building and the parking associated with that across the front and the loading behind it, that would be subject of a separate application. That would have to come back before this board, and we'd have to apply to all those other agencies that I've mentioned previously that are required for approval of this application. The rear of the property. You'll see that just behind or to the bottom of the page, there's about halfway through the property a strip of green. That's a hedgerow, I'll say, separating the developed portion of the property fronting Homestead Road and the rear of the property, which is an agricultural use. It's farmed. That will be continued to be farmed. And you can see even with the Phase 2 implemented, that area is still not proposed to be developed. So that would continue to be farmed even if Phase 2 were implemented. Am I going on too long? Okay.
Say what you need to say.
All right. Maybe time now would be to speak to the community impact statement submission waiver request. The community impact statement requirements of the ordinance deal with fiscal matters. This will be an application that would result in a positive tax generation. There's no, obviously with residential development, there's an impact on school. That isn't something that would be associated with a commercial operation like this. Also, just by virtue of the fact that the property as it was previously existing was already developed. So there was an impact by that prior development, albeit had been abandoned and in a state of disrepair. It was an impact, and this facility, as far as traffic, and you'll hear from the traffic engineer, has a reduction in that impact. The use is permitted. We're complying with the zone in all aspects, and the emergency services that would normally be, say, taxed more readily by a residential development would not be expected to be taxed in a situation like this. We also received a report from the Township Fire Chief Marshal. That was, let me get the date. November 20th, 2014. That's attached to the overall memo issued by Mr. Rydell. That memo has already been addressed, and we've submitted those changes in the plan to the fire marshal, and will comply with all of those conditions and requests. And I'll say right now, as far as the plan itself, he was pleased with the proposal to have and this is something I'm sure the board members have heard on numerous occasions, the opportunity to have access to all four sides of the building for emergency vehicles with the circular driveway completely around it. And you can see, even as part of the site plan set of plans, we've provided a truck turning template to illustrate how the fire truck can maneuver safely and traverse the entire site, providing for that access. And then by virtue of us having public water, we'll have access for fire suppression system within the building, but also we've provided for fire hydrants basically at all four corners of the building. So there's 4 on-site hydrants that'll be proposed as part of this application. Okay. Would now be an appropriate time, if you'd like, I can go through some of the review memos and tell you how the applicant would like to address those. Okay. All right. First, I've already spoken to the fire marshal's review memorandum. Now would be maybe an opportunity to speak to the Environmental Commission. We met with the Environmental Commission. We provided them with the same information that this board has, that is the plans, and you'll see in their memo dated December 8th, 2014, they recognize that the stream corridor and all the environmentally sensitive areas associated with that stream corridor along Willow Road will be preserved. We're proposing 14% impervious coverage while 60 is allowed. They've asked us to be cognizant of site lighting and we've provided a site lighting plan that meets the town ordinance but is not excessive. And I think that, coupled with the substantial vegetative buffer, both existing and proposed, we provided for screening, and the site lights can be put on timers so that they can be turned off after business hours with just a few lights left on for security purposes, both for the police patrolling the area to be able to see into the site. One correction I would like to make is there is on the site plans as well as the architectural plans shown a dust collector. There'll be a dust collector as part of the operation process required. That dust collector will be provided during the presentation to the Environmental Commission. One of the members of our presentation team misspoke and thought that there was no dust collector, but there is a dust collector. The dust collector will comply with the ordinance, both the township, state requirements, all regulations, and not present any noise issues. So we'd like to correct that on the record. Also, this is maybe a detail but worth addressing, HEPA filters. There'll be HEPA filters on, and the architect can speak to this in more detail, on certain HVAC ventilation areas, but not all of them. It's not required in all locations or appropriate. And again, someone misspoke during our presentation to the Environmental Commission and said that there was going to be HEPA filters on all HVAC locations.
Mr. Ford, can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
So could you, all right, because I'm going through the same list that you're going through. So I just need some clarification. So these are like closed batch processes. So what's the need for the dust filters? Like why are there dust filters in there? For what purpose?
I'll leave that answer to the architect. It'll be the next presenter. As the site engineer, I've provided the location as directed by the architect where the concrete pad will go that the dust collector sits on. That's connected to the building. As far as the operation, I'll let him address that.
All right, because then I had another point on the processed waters. So ask the other person.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And the Environmental Commission document talked about that there was fermentation.
Right.
No, I think I heard earlier there isn't.
Right, that's what I heard also.
So
correct.
Was there so the testimony, is there an area designated for that in a plan, but you don't actually intend to do that? Could you explain that? Why did the Environmental Commission ask you about that and about dry fermentation?
Because it was in the newspaper.
Because in the newspaper, is that it?
Yeah, I let the architect address
no,
that.
the problem is it got into the Environmental Commission report, so
Yeah.
it's in the evidence, we got to address it. Yeah. So there wasn't, so you want the architect to address that as well?
Right, that's an issue interior to the building. That's
Yeah.
not an exterior site planning.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, all right.
The
Gotcha.
only other point clarification that I don't know if you can answer or not is those monitoring wells. Would you know if that was there from previous owners or
Correct.
Are those issues resolved?
Yes, to my knowledge, they've been resolved. We've contacted Glenn Bellamy, the township health official. That issue's been resolved, and that monitoring well will be closed.
Do you know what the issue was, or?
I don't know. There's a DEP action for some monitoring of some prior use on the site. Okay.
Before we go any further, you said that the stream corridor was going to be protected, preserved. How is it going to be preserved?
Well, by virtue of it being a regulated area, there's a floodplain, there's a DNR Canal Commission buffer, and there's also a township stream corridor buffer that'll be regulated and preclude any activity in that area.
So it'd be restricted, so nothing can occur there.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I think next I'd like to go to Mr. White's report, and I think that'll address many of the issues or similar comments in Mr. Rydell's report. First, as far as traffic circulation, I've already stated we have two-way traffic around the entire site. That'll be the way it's proposed. As far as Willow Road, there's no access or changes to Willow Road being proposed. We're not proposing any new driveways there, and by virtue of the restricted areas of that environmentally sensitive stream, there's no proposed activity in that area. On Homestead Road, we're taking the existing 4 driveways, reducing them to 2, and we're not proposing any changes to Homestead Road other than that. There's no proposed widening of Homestead Road or changes in the cartway. In fact, just recently, this past fall, Homestead Road was overlaid by the township, a new pavement surface to restore the deteriorated pavement.
Mr. Ford, with regard to Homestead Road,
Yep.
is your client willing to restrict right-hand turns for trucks leaving the site?
Yes.
And appropriate signage will be provided on the site plan?
Yes.
Thank you.
And also, with regards to on-site directional signs, we'll provide on-site directional signs that direct truck traffic to the rear of the site, pedestrian or vehicular traffic to the parking areas in the front, to Mr. White's satisfaction.
If I may, why do we want to do that?
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
Why would we want to send trucks towards the neighborhood? I'd rather send the trucks.
No, we're prohibiting the trucks from...
No right turns exiting the site.
Oh, no right.
No
Right.
Oh, you said only right turns as well.
No.
That's what
No right turns. Left turns to send them to 206.
I heard it the same way. So.
No, I heard that.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think I've already addressed in testimony what we're doing and how we're treating both Homestead Road and on-site. I think in summary, Mr. White's report, and I'll get the date for the record. January 6th. January 6th will comply to all those conditions and requests for additional information to Mr. White's satisfaction, including the prohibition of right turns, that is, turns exiting the site on Homestead Road toward Willow Road of truck traffic. I've already stated there's no DEP permits required. There was a suggestion or a consideration in Mr. White's report about whether we're going to fence or there's a need to fence the detention basin in the front yard. It's a dry basin. It's not a permanent pool basin. It's not a pond. It fills up after a rainstorm and then slowly releases the water after a rainstorm and infiltrates the ground, rainwater into the ground. This is a common best management practice now. So we don't see the need for the fence. It's not a safety issue. This is not a residential area where you have children, so we would propose not to put a fence around the detention basin. There was a comment and request on the architectural plans at the rear of the building. They're shown 4 truck loading bays in the center of the building, 2 on one side, basically in the middle, and 2 on the other. Then immediately adjacent to that, there's another overhead door. That is, the purpose of that door is for providing for a direct connection from the building to a dumpster at the rear of the building in the loading area, similar to what you would see at the back of, say, a shopping center, where you could provide for a compactor and a direct connection for the trash going from the building directly into that container. So we're not proposing a trash enclosure, if you will. The trash is going directly from the building into this container.
So it's self-contained and it won't be an eyesore, it'll be not blowing around the site?
Correct. Right. There was a request to consider pretreatment. We're providing for the of the stormwater before it enters the detention basin. We've provided for that BMP in accordance with the township standards, and I believe that'll satisfy Mr. White. And again, as part of any approval this board may grant, all the issues in Mr. White's report of January 6th will be addressed to his satisfaction.
Yeah, the pre-treatment was basically just a recommendation that you typically get, even from DEP in the best management practice manual, just to minimize the amount of maintenance.
Okay.
It's not a requirement.
No NIPTs required, right?
No.
No.
Mr. Ford, while you're talking about detention basins, you explained that they're going to be landscaped and everything, but being that they're infiltration basins, won't there be an area that's not landscaped?
Yeah, it's actually like a natural sand bottom. Right. And we've provided for landscaping in accordance with the township ordinance as well as the tree mitigation ordinance. We've done a tree inventory, and this is addressed in Mr. White's report, but I think it's important for both the public and the board to know. There's been a site survey inventory of the trees to be removed, which is about 15 trees. So, and that's part and parcel because we're developing the area of the site that's already been developed. In total on the tree, there's an estimated almost 900 trees, including that wooded area along Willow Road. So you can see that there's a very insignificant amount of trees to be impacted, and there's over 60 trees to be planted as part of the application, including shrubbery immediately in front of the parking area the parking area side that faces Homestead Road. So that shrubbery will provide for that required landscape screen between the parking and Homestead Road. And the only real supplemental or additional landscaping that Mr. White has suggested in his report we will do, which includes some landscaping around the head walls in the detention basin to help soften the look of those concrete head walls. And we'll comply with that request. I think that's the substance of our engineering.
Mr. White?
Mr. Ford and I spoke at length today. We reviewed every one of the items. We didn't want to bore the board nor the public with that engineering stuff, as you put it.
Did I say that?
Satisfied. More than once, I think, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right.
But we've covered the hot buttons tonight between the two of us.
Mr. Rydell?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The issue of the community impact statement submission waiver has been raised, and I would like the applicant to go on record regarding that, and I'd like to supply him with a copy of the code, specifically Article 4, Design and Performance Standards, Section 18832, and let him read the section and comment upon it for the record, if you would.
Okay. Which section are we in?
The entire section. That section and this section.
We take a 5-minute recess.
Go, wait a minute. Oh. Do you need a recess?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's not read aloud.
No.
So we'll give Lucille a break anyway, which is always good to do, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you might as well use that one, Mr. Ford. It's the best one we got.
Okay.
Okay, well, we're back with Mr. Ford. And do you have anything? I just wanted to say one thing. Apparently, I've been informed that the article in local newspaper, and I should not have said before, oh, maybe the newspaper got it wrong, talked about what this business Viatal Corporation does in other sites when they were talking about some of these things. The newspaper didn't mean to say and didn't say that that's what they were intending to do here. So if the public was reading this article and thinking that this is what they were intending to do here, it was simply a report of what the company may do in other places. So we already have the testimony as to what they would be doing here. Mr. Ford, I think you were given something to look at and comment on?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Thank you.
So I apologize to the editor of the Beacon. I wanted to say that.
But I will read some pieces.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not in general, just for that one comment.
I didn't hear him. Okay.
It's already expired.
Yeah. All right, this is the section of the ordinance regarding community impact statements, for which we're seeking a submission waiver for. First, under paragraph 2, community impact statement shall address the following areas. And there's areas A, B, C, D, and E. A is headlined population impact. The applicant shall provide an analysis of the number of people expected to be added to the municipal population as a result of the proposed development within the following school-age categories.
And your answer is?
None.
Okay, next. B.
School impact. The applicant shall provide an analysis of the anticipated number of pupils who will be added to the student population.
Is
0.
Next.
Item C, financial impact. The applicant shall provide an analysis of the revenue expected to be generated from the development proposal compared to the anticipated cost of the development proposal to be expected to be generated. So again, it's a positive cash. This is a rateable. This will not have it's not a nonprofit organization, and by virtue of the no population added or school children, to be a positive cash benefit. D is just a request that multiple copies, 16 copies of this community impact statement be provided. And E is with regards to affordable housing.
And I can just quickly address that.
Yes.
As you might know, the Council on Affordable Housing is in flux, and new rules were not adopted by COA. So there's proposed numbers out there. The Supreme Court heard it last week or this week. But what we can say is that we do not believe this project will have any impact on Hillsborough's affordable housing number.
Mr. Rydell, you want to comment?
I'm not going to comment on the future, Dr. Cerisi, but right now on our books is a requirement for non-residential collection of fees in accordance with the standards, and that is all we're looking for. Whatever's on the books right now, that the applicant will comply. Thank you.
Okay, and then
that there is a non-residential fee for affordable housing that is required of this applicant.
And that's because I believe rules up to this point have even given you affordable housing requirement for non-residential development.
That is correct.
So what's the fee?
It needs to be calculated.
Oh, you have to calculate
that is done
based
by
on
the building
business.
department at the time that a building permit is drawn.
And the applicant has already testified they'll comply with all ordinances, rules, regulations.
Okay, very good.
And then to summarize this community impact statement matter, again, I'm reading from the ordinance. It says, the information furnished in the community impact statement shall serve to influence the design of the proposed development so that the provisions of the necessary municipal facilities can be anticipated and coordinated with the construction of the proposed development. And I think the testimony you're hearing this evening, as well as the documents you've already received with the plans, provide that information for you to steer us in the right direction to provide for a design, appropriate design based on the impact of this project. That would sum my testimony regarding the community impact statement submission waiver request. The other item, and we just mentioned the COA contribution, I'd like to point out too, in Mr. White's report, he references the ordinance requirement that we provide for sidewalks along frontages of roads. We have frontage both along Homestead Road and Willow Road, either to construct a sidewalk or as an alternative to make a payment in lieu to the township's sidewalk fund. The applicant would elect to make that payment in lieu and not provide the sidewalks along the frontage. We don't anticipate, as I've testified already, pedestrian traffic to and from this site.
Okay. Any other comments for this witness? Okay. From the board?
Yes. Mr. Ford, we talked about a little bit about waste, and you just mentioned the Hillsborough MUA. The waste actually will be treated at the Somerset Raritan Valley Sewage Authority. And in all likelihood, they're going to ask you to go into the industrial testing program for the waste coming out of this facility. All industrial facilities go through that type of review. But I just wanted to make sure you knew that, and there'll be an SRVSA, Somerset Raritan Valley Sewage Authority approval for that too.
Yes, understood. Hillsborough Township doesn't own a wastewater treatment plant. It's all collection systems, and as Mr. Merninger's correctly stated, all of our waste goes to the Somerset Raritan Valley Sewage Authority and will comply with their standards, and that'll be part of our connection approval. Our first step is at the Hillsborough Township, and our second and last step will be at the Somerset Raritan Valley Sewage Authority, and we'll comply. Thank you.
I have a question about the what look like exhaust pipes on the top of your rendering here. How about how far up above the roof line do they go?
I think that'll be a question addressed by the architect, our next witness.
Oh, the architect, okay.
Yeah, that was his rendering, and actually,
Okay.
we have a blown-up version of that rendering to provide as an exhibit.
No problem.
Yes.
Any others from this side? Any other questions? Okay. Questions from the public for this witness on the site plan and its engineering? Yes, sir. Yeah.
Hi, Bill Martin, 237 Hillsborough Road, Hillsborough, New Jersey. First, a comment. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the previous factory that was there, but that factory has been long gone before a lot of the residential development has been brought in here. But I do have a question. How many loading docks are there going to be on Phase 1?
There's 4 at the back of the building.
For 1 or 2 trucks a week?
Yeah, the architect will address the operation facility. I think typically you wouldn't have, you only go in and out one door of your house. You don't have just one door. You have other doors. I think it's better for the architect to address it as far as the operation of the facility.
The architect will specifically address that issue.
Yeah.
Well, just on that comment, you only go in and out one door. A loading dock is different than a door in a house.
Certainly.
Yes.
And the architect will address your questions, sir.
Well, I guess we'll go from the front to the back. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Jason.
My name is Gail Martin.
You can pull it out of there. You don't have to stretch up. Yeah. It is adjustable.
My name is Gail Martin. I live at 237 Hillsborough Road, and I have some concerns about the quality of life and in reference to the traffic study commissioned by Viatel. This study was done on Wednesday, October 15th, 2014, between 7 a.m. and 8:15 a.m., and 5 p.m. and 6 p.m., and I feel it's flawed. Right now, the sports complex is on Willow Road, and there's a bike lane. There is mention of a bike lane in the traffic study, but no mention of any bike traffic in the report.
Can I just say one thing? We do want to hear that, but the traffic engineer will also be called. So two more witnesses to go. The
Okay.
architect for the building details, and then the traffic engineer, who's, I think, who you want to address.
Okay. Previously,
Because then
you
there'll
said
be a
Mr.
witness
Ford
who
would
can.
address the
No,
traffic
I know, but
issues.
there'll be a witness who can address specifically what you're saying, which
Okay.
is not Mr. Ford. He hasn't been sworn in yet, so he
Okay.
can't
Yeah,
speak
there's
to
a
it yet.
specialty engineer that prepared that traffic statement you're referring to.
Okay, then I
Yes.
misunderstood your earlier
Oh,
comment.
yeah, no, this is the site plan, like the buildings and grounds kind of
Okay.
thing.
I'm just curious, I know you read the community impact statement. I'm just curious as to what would justify waiving the statement.
The items that I've read that are required as part of an impact statement, I've really already addressed and testified to regarding the population impact, the school impact, and the fiscal impact.
Yeah, I could speak to this a little bit, which is not to answer the question, but rather to the intent of the ordinance. I was around for that ordinance, and the intent of it was for these large developers who come in and tell you how wonderful that they are in building 400 apartment units, and that there won't be any impact at all. And you should listen to those traffic studies where they tell you that there won't be any impact on traffic either for that. And the ordinance was drafted to speak to that kind of an application, to make them account for the number of school children and the impact on the school system and the school taxes, the amount of policing and fire and all of that stuff. So its intent was to not let, and to force them to quantify big developers with big projects with lots of people that are going to be housed on a property from coming in and claiming that there's no impact and not having to back that up with actual metrics. So it was never intended for this small plant with 15 employees. That's not its purpose, I mean, in its original intent. Now, I understand it's on the books, but that's why a waiver was written into it, so that for this type of application you can ask for a waiver, because this type of application is not what the thing was designed and adopted for in the first place. Oh, you're back. Okay.
Do I have to get my name again?
No, yeah.
Yes, Bill
Yeah,
Martin.
for the record, yeah.
Bill Martin, 237 Hillsborough Road, Hillsborough, New Jersey. In relation to what you just said, the Hillsborough Township website has a thing about the community impact developer requirements. And I'll read two quotes here. Committeeman Carl Sirachi, the sponsor of the original impact statement ordinance in 2005, said it's vital to ensure any significant housing or commercial developments proposed for Hillsborough are thoroughly reviewed for their potential future impact on the community and taxpayers. That's the end of the quote, but it then says, the new community impact ordinance requires developers of all developments that come both before the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Board that exceed 3 lots or 5,000 square feet of impervious cover to formally analyze the impacts on population, schools, and finances. Mayor Anthony Ferrara stated, it only makes sense that information regarding the full scope and impact of a proposed development as outlined prior to consideration by either of the land use boards.
Yes. Any other, next, yes.
Suzanne Oxy, 425 Willow Road. Would you point out where the current monitoring wells are on that site plan?
I
think there are 2 of them, right?
There's one right in the front.
Could you point to it?
Actually, they're grouped in this area right here. There's a bollard and a test well. There's one in this, what used to be a parking area here. And I don't see the third one.
So there's 3.
No, I said I see 2 on the site plan from the mapping that we have for the
So
site.
on the new plan, it's going to be built over. So those, you're going to just decommission those wells?
Correct.
You have authority to do that?
We would have to have a licensed well driller do it, and that would be with a permit from your local health department in the state. And then
What
that
about
decommission-
DEP?
Okay. And the licensed well driller would get the permit from DEP and register the closure of the well with DEP.
So do you know what's in those wells now? What the contaminants are?
No, I don't know of any contaminants in the well. No, I don't.
So you're saying there aren't any contaminants? Or you don't know what they are?
No, I don't know that there are any contaminants in the wells.
So they have monitoring wells for nothing?
No,
Or no toxic stuff?
No, that was part of the prior use of the property and a DEP environmental issue that was monitored by those groundwater wells.
I think testimony has already been provided that it's a DEP monitoring issue, and the applicant will comply with all DEP requirements and state and local requirements for closure of wells.
Right.
Okay. For phase 2, you pointed out that flip side. Would you need waivers for that?
No.
Building? So that building would comply with all the setbacks and side yards and all
Correct.
that stuff? Okay. For the community impact study, one of those items was finances. I live near there. I would presume that my property value, the value of my property will go down as a result of the factory. So would the values of all of the resident, the homes near there be adjusted? Would that be addressed in this community impact statement? So that would mean less revenue coming to the township as taxes.
Yeah, actually, I don't understand your basis for thinking that a small pharmaceutical manufacturing plant
You say
around
small.
the corner would definitely cause the reduction of the value of your property.
As opposed to a blighted.
What's your evidence
existing-
for that?
As opposed to
As
what?
opposed to a blighted lot.
Existing lot with vacant.
I don't think it's blighted. Have you seen it lately?
Well,
Not now.
No, it was.
Yeah,
It's been
but-
cleared because of this application, but what it was a blighted lot, which was an active nuisance for people looking to have parties at night. So,
How do you know
huh?
How do you know that?
Oh, I had the occasion to drive up on the lot and look at it, and the evidence of it was around the lot,
Okay.
actually. You could see
Oh, I thought
fire
you partied
pits,
there.
beer
Okay.
cans, bottles, etc.
First
Yeah,
time.
on the lot. Yeah. No, true. The demolition while it's going on is going to be noisy, but it leaves the thing a lot better. Okay? Ma'am, first of all, come up here, but second of all, obviously, when a demolition is going on, it makes noise, but it's a temporary thing, and it leaves the property better afterwards. Now, from the previous blighted state.
So you're saying that a factory next to my house will not reduce the property value?
I'm just saying that what evidence do you have that it would?
Well, wouldn't they have to tell us that in the community impact study? I mean, isn't it up to the
That's not the
developer?
purpose of the community impact study.
I thought Section C was financial.
Having to do
To the municipality.
the municipality and the school
municipality's
board.
gonna get less taxes from me as my property.
It relates to
Okay.
One at a time.
It relates to the context of having the cost to the town for police, fire
School
services.
children.
School, all municipal services. They're not going to be negatively impacted on this because of this application, if it was to be approved financially. It's a plus because it's a tax rateable that will bring money in more than what it is now, which is zero except for the land value. And as far as proving or disproving whether or not quote unquote a factory, a vitamin factory is going to harm or not harm your property value,
What do you think?
that's not the applicant's responsibility.
What do you think?
What
Don't
do I
answer
think?
the question.
I don't answer that question.
Okay, as usual.
No,
Okay.
Because, ma'am, he's being recommended not to answer that question from the
Okay.
board
Because we have no
attorney
basis to
because,
make that decision.
because there is no evidence before the board regarding such, and all
Okay.
the board members are being asked in their capacities as board members to render a decision based upon the evidence before them. Whether they have a conjecture or an opinion regarding such outside of the testimony is not for them to determine.
Well, the chairman just said, why do I think a small factory would impact my
Yeah, I'm asking you,
property
I'm asking you to
taxes?
present the reason for your
And the app- and the-
assumption.
And the
You're
obligation of
saying a
an...
small factory wouldn't do it.
That's what it is.
So that's your
That is in
opinion, a
fact
small
what it is.
factory wouldn't do it. Okay.
Ma'am, I think the issue is you made a statement that your value would go down, and we asked you what the basis of that was. Is it your opinion, or is there a basis for that?
It's my opinion.
Well, but there's no
And
evidence in play
I
that would be the case,
developer
is the issue.
should be telling me that it won't go down.
And we've already told you that that is not the purpose or
Okay.
part of the community impact statement.
Okay. My other question is about the other sites for this current business. He mentioned that he has other sites. So those sites only have one truck a week also?
I don't think that's within the scope of a site plan approval for this particular site.
I didn't hear, what did you say?
It's not within the scope of an application for approval for this particular site.
About his other businesses?
About other properties throughout the state or wherever.
His other businesses, the truck traffic is not relevant? Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Chairman, if Mr. Ford can answer the question based on his own knowledge, then he should answer the question.
I was listening.
Yeah.
I'm not the traffic expert. You'll have a traffic expert testify in a moment. And for this particular site, there's been a traffic study done, and there's been statements made already by the applicant, and they'll be addressed also by the traffic consultant regarding the truck traffic for this particular site and this application and the intensity of this use and this facility.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll wait to hear that testimony.
The noise and the light, is that something that comes later, or is this that you'll adjust now?
I think the noise can be, with regards to the building itself, noise.
The operations.
Right, the operation of the building. I'll let the architect address that.
The
because it
lighting
have to
would
do-
be you, though, exterior lighting.
Right.
Anyway.
The site plan lighting, this is, there's a lighting standard required by the township for us to provide adequate on-site lighting. The type of light fixture that's proposed is within the maximum height allowable, less than 15 feet high, shoebox with the light focused downward. So there's lighting provided to provide for in accordance with the ordinance, and it doesn't. And we've actually provided a lighting plan that provides a foot candle analysis that shows the lighting throughout the entire site, and there's no glare or lighting being thrown onto other properties.
And you said it'll be on a timer, so things will go off at 5 o'clock?
Well, it would go off when the facility is unoccupied, and there would be some lights left on for security purposes, so that, like, if the police are patrolling the area, they're not entering a completely dark site.
So at 5 o'clock, because operations are 9 to 5, at 5, most of the lights will be going off.
Right. Well, typically the way that is structured, if the hours of operation are until 5, the lights would go off, say, about half hour after that, because you have to provide for people time to exit the building.
Yeah, my experience on Willow Road, there's a field that has a timer, and those lights are on all the time. So I'm concerned about the lights.
It would be to the applicant's benefit too, because the lights are an energy drain.
Sure.
And an expense to provide for the timers to operate properly.
So who would monitor that?
That would be the facility operator, the owners.
The owner.
Right.
And if they
It's
don't
not the
comply
township's
with the town-
responsibility.
So if it's not happening, the resident would contact the building department or something?
Oh.
To complain if the lights didn't go off?
You would call the code officers.
The code, the
Dr.
code.
Mr.
Okay,
Boyce.
all right, that's good to know. Okay, thank you.
Or Bruce.
Yes. Mr. Gordon? Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Ford? Okay, Mr. Ford, I have a couple questions on your landscaping. First of all, that bottom line on the driveway. In fact, I wish you'd bring a laser next time.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, okay.
That's why I'd like this mobile mic to work, so I can get out of my seat once in a while.
Great. That line, the green line on the bottom there?
This line.
Right there, yes.
That's in the existing and proposed condition.
Okay.
That'll remain.
Who owns that property on the south side of that?
The applicant does. That's the
Okay.
cultivated field that's in
That's the
agriculture.
19 acres that's sitting there?
No. That's probably about half of the site. This is about 8 or 9 acres. The whole total property, which I'm outlining with my finger, is the 20.84 acres.
Okay, fine. I appreciate that. The second thing, you're talking about the trees on the right-hand side?
The east side of the property, adjacent to Willow Road.
Right. Now, you said some of those trees will be torn down?
No, the trees that'll be impacted are right in this corner where the detention basin will be installed. There'll be some regrading associated with the detention basin, and then the
Okay.
trees
All right.
replaced.
I understand that. Are the current trees, based upon the height of the building, going to screen out the building itself from the people across the street on Willow Road?
There'll be the same screening that there is there today.
And how high is that, do you know?
The trees?
Yes.
No, I don't know
Hey,
how
come
high
on,
the
you're an
trees are.
engineer. You know you got the little gadgets. You can tell how high.
No.
Okay.
No, there's a substantial, I've made several visits to the site, and there's a substantial wooded area along Willow Road.
Majority of it, I think, is cedars, and I looked at, you have some cherry trees and some other trees. You said you're going to be replacing trees. I would suggest maybe some oaks would be applicable, especially down near the water basin, which would help to suck up some of the water during flood periods. And also, they grow rather tall. I'm looking for more of a screen of the buildings themselves, so they're not seeing the lights from the inside will be shining on the people across the street. Could you consider something like that?
We're providing 4 oaks. There is a landscape plan. There's actually, I'll read 31 swampoid oaks. And there also is evergreen trees mixed in with those plantings.
Right. Okay. I guess I'll have to talk to the architect about the building. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Bill Trethaway, 1274 Millstone River Road here in Hillsborough, New Jersey. I have some questions on the community impact statement. You stated that there would be zero effect on the population of the town?
This is not a residential development, so there wouldn't be a provision for providing for residents to move into town.
Okay. Have you talked with the planner of your facility when you did it? Because it's a standard planning practice to assume that when an industry moves into a town, at least a certain percentage of the employees will want to locate into that area.
Yeah, and they may occupy a residential development that creates that housing source. This is not a housing project that would provide for that.
True, but there might, it might.
It's not
affect the
adding to the
population
housing,
of
though,
town.
is the issue, sir.
That
It's
doesn't
not
say
that
the housing load, it says population.
But the,
He read population, not housing load. So could add
Right,
to
and
that.
let me, I didn't want to read, it's, the applicant shall provide an analysis of the number of people expected to be added to the municipality population as a result of the proposed development within the following school age cohorts: preschool, 0 to 4, school age children, 5 to 18, parents of family-bearing age, 18 to 40, and middle-age adults, 40 to 61, and senior citizens over 62.
So,
The
and
maximum.
your testimony is that it will be zero.
Correct. We're not a housing development.
And nobody's going to move in to take a job here. Nobody's going to move in the town, take the job.
Mr. Trethway, if someone will open up a pizza place around the corner and someone will move into town to be a cook, is that going to make an impact on the town?
It's going to change
No,
the
he's going to move
population.
into a unit that's already there when
already there.
someone else
We're talking
moves
about-
out. So no,
Is it
there
going
is
to
no
affect
proof
the
that there's an
housing
impact.
units? No,
What you
but
are
will
is a
affect the
gadfly just
population?
trying to
Yes.
make trouble. There's no sense whatsoever in discussing this with a small manufacturing business with 15 or 20 employees. There's not a bit of sense to it.
There may not be, and
No,
I
there
tend to
is
agree
not.
with you that there
Is
could
not any
there may
sense
not
to
be,
it.
but I'm not making comments at this point. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, but
No,
you
I'm
are.
asking if he's saying that it thinks it's going to be zero, and he's saying it's zero.
That's right. And you keep asking the question again and again. He's already
No,
asked you,
keep
answered you
saying
twice
housing
that it's
units,
zero.
And I keep saying population. That's all I'm saying is
It's
population,
still,
not housing.
it's still irrelevant and ridiculous.
You stated that there would be a positive impact on the town. Do you have the numbers on how much the tax impact will be, the positive inflow revenue versus the services?
No.
The property hasn't been assessed yet, it's not built, so.
That was testified earlier when that would become available.
I understand that, but he said that he knows it's going to be a positive impact. I'm asking, how does he know it's going to be a positive impact? If he doesn't know what the numbers are, how do you know
It's
it's a
more than
positive
zero,
impact?
which it's getting now.
Right.
Made a positive impact.
But it's also not using services now.
What services is it going to use?
I don't know. It's not my job to determine that.
We already.
If he can testify to the question, he can testify to the question.
Mr. Ford?
He's already
I know,
answered
he
the
can-
question.
well, let him repeat the answer then. He can ask the answer.
On the lighting, if it's the board's desire, would you be willing to put a condition in that you'll work with the board engineer or the township engineer to work out an acceptable off-hours lighting plan? Because I understand there's security and other things there, so that there'll be something in the site plan, so code enforcement has something to enforce when the residents come complain about the lights being on?
We would comply with the ordinance requirement.
Is there an ordinance that says you have to turn the lights off after a certain time?
Yeah.
So you would testify that you would design a setup to shut off the lights. I'm just asking that if the board were to require that on the site plans or as a condition of your approval, so there'd be something for code enforcement to enforce.
Yes, we could, with Mr. White's office, designate those lights that would be left on after business hours, so that those lights, when developed, would be identified on the site plan. I've done this on other applications, that they would be the specific lights that would be left on for security purposes, and we would strategically place them at locations as guided by your professionals.
Okay.
And that would provide for the enforcement
Great.
Opportunities.
And I'm sure that everybody would be very happy if the board were to require that. On the wells, you stated, I believe, if I understood your testimony correctly, that you do not know what was being monitored or if there was an active remediation in process?
Yeah, no, that was part of the prior owner's operation of the facility. That wasn't part of this application nor this owner's use of the facility. And it's my understanding from the health official that that action by DEP in monitoring has been closed down and ceased, so those wells can be closed at this time.
Okay, so you don't know.
I don't know the
you don't know
specifics
any
of
specifics.
why.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you understand where I'm going on that?
That's rude. You're being very rude.
Having a simple
he is.
conversation.
You're blaming your
We're just having.
Okay, I'll say exactly.
Yelling
what I
out in
said.
the middle of the meeting is rude as well.
I
yeah.
said to him exactly what I was going to say after he finished. The issue with whether or not we will or will not approve this is not a question that I had in my mind at this moment. I was wondering why, if the town is always being attacked for empty spaces, for not doing enough to develop this town, when something comes to this town, the same people that have iterated and wrote about and spoken about this endlessly are now attacking the town and attacking the applicant for the same exact thing. I have enough to say about that. That's it.
No, I think you've said plenty, considering that where you're sitting right now and the nature of your comment. Wow.
Well, we know that you're a designated Democrat attack dog who comes to meetings just to make the comments that you make that have nothing to do with you personally or any relevant to whether this is an application of merit or not, or anything that we have to do
You might
to
wanna talk to
legally
your
to
board
assess
attorney
this
before you
thing
go too much
properly and
farther.
vote on it properly. So, you know, you can waste as much time as you like with as many ridiculous comments as you like, or get to the point quickly and sit down so someone else can talk, because you don't have an endless right to stand up
I
here.
have not made any comments. I have asked questions at this point.
Your questions are comments, sir. Again, please. Get on with it and be done quickly.
Stormwater management. I assume that there's going to be inverts from the different parking areas into the recharge basin?
There's a detailed grading and drainage plan as well as a stormwater management report that's been submitted and reviewed by the board engineer.
Are you aware of the hydrocarbon filters that are designed to go into inlets to collect the hydrocarbon drippings that come off of the cars when they're parked in parking lots?
I've heard of something like what you're describing. What we proposed here is in compliance with the township's ordinance for stormwater management and best management practices, as well as the Delaware and Raritan Canal Commission's requirements, and they are identical to or follow much of the DEP's requirements.
DEP recommends these where possible, I believe, but I could be wrong. Do you know if they recommend them or not?
I am not aware of a recommendation for
Mr. Ford,
specific.
is it in the state's manual for best management practices some filter that he's referring to? Because I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, I'm not aware of a specific hydro.
Mr. Ford, are you providing water quality and requirements with the township's stormwater control ordinance?
Yes.
And that is?
The infiltration basin. Excuse me?
What is the exact requirement?
We provide for water quality provisions as well as quantity to reduce the volume of or peak rate of runoff from the site.
And with regard to water quality, isn't that the requirement 90% removal of total suspended solids?
80%. 80% removal of total suspended solids, correct.
Which is per the Delaware Raritan Canal Commission requirements, DEP requirements, soil conservation requirements, and the township ordinance, correct?
Correct.
For once we have all these bodies in line with the same requirements.
Right. And in this case, we have a pre-existing use of the site, albeit had been abandoned for some time, which accommodated up to 240 parking spaces, whereas now the proposed condition is for 40 parking spaces.
In a 10-year storm, what is the ponding depth of the recharge basin?
I'll have to refer to the report. I don't have that memorized.
For how long does it sit to that depth? Do you have any idea on that?
It evacuates over time.
She testified that there was no need for any fencing or anything because there'll never be any water in it, but there...
No, sir. No.
He didn't testify that at all.
I actually said just the opposite. I said that there would be water in it after a rainstorm and drain out over time, but there wouldn't be a permanent pool. Normally fences for fencing are proposed or appropriate where you have a permanent pool. Like water's there all the time, like a pond.
Or sometimes people, are you aware of any township?
Wait a minute, sir, wait a minute. Regarding the fence, the applicant would put a fence in if the board wanted a fence. The applicant's not, there's no ordinance requirement that there be a fence. We're not proposing a fence because we thought it would be more aesthetically pleasing to have landscaping in a natural environment rather than a 6-foot-high chain link fence. If the board would like a chain link fence, the applicant would provide that.
The reason the issue came up was because of the residential uses to the east. Upon Mr. Ford and my discussion, there is no pedestrian traffic down there.
I'm not asking for a fence, I'm asking to know if there's less need for one.
It may hinder any type of emergency service should they be required to rescue somebody during a storm event. The ordinance requirement is that this basin be dry after 72 hours after the storm ends. Correct, Mr. Ford?
Correct.
Okay. So it's not a wet pond, it's a dry pond.
Is there a question?
My question was, what is the ponding depth of the pond, and for how long? I now hear it's 72 hours is the max time.
That's full to drain dry.
Correct.
Correct. So the max is 72 hours.
72 hours
dry
maximum.
back. Correct. That's very good.
Yes.
That's information I think you need to decide if you're looking for the fence or not. I also believe that the ponding depth may be necessary to know if the ponding depth were to be excessive. Did you look at stepped edges on the retention basin, or does it have stepped edges to make it easier for somebody to get out if they were to fall in when the ponding water was in there?
No, the stepped edges you're referring to are associated with design standards that are permanent pools or wet ponds. They're not required.
I'm not
typically
asking about
No,
requirements.
no,
I'm just
well,
asked, did you consider them?
Let me answer, sir. They're not typically designed for a dry basin, a basin that's dry except for immediately after a rainstorm. And these are sloped edges. They're not steep edges. They're maintainable edges with a typical landscape mower.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Gordon. At least you're a neighbor. But get by the microphone. Yeah,
It's
okay.
my age, I forgot to ask
No, that's
one more
okay.
question to Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford, you described that you're going to have a sign on the exit for the trucks to make a left-hand turn and go towards the Route 206, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. How about the truck coming to the plant? How are they going to come through? They come down Hillsborough Road or Willow Road, or some skirt around? Because we have a lot of tractor-trailer trucks that run through this area,
Yeah.
and dump trucks especially too. And yeah, and once you have a second phase come in here, you might have more trucks coming in. So how do we get these trucks to come up 206 and come up the Homestead Road area instead of going through the residential area?
That certainly there's no prohibition. We wouldn't put signs off-site throughout Hillsborough Township to direct traffic, but the facility operator, in knowing a truck is coming to the site, can instruct the drivers on the appropriate location or way or route to come to the site. But unlike the control we have over exiting the site with signage, we don't have control over the off-site, and I would say perhaps the traffic expert can address that even in more detail.
Okay, thank you.
Ricky. Any other questions for this witness about the site plan? Seeing none, next witness.
All right, Mr. Redmond.
Take any cleaner. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. State your full name, spelling your last name.
Mark Redmond, R-E-D-M-O-N-D.
Thank you.
I'm going to go on a limb, this guy's the architect.
All right. Mr. Redmond, could you provide your qualifications, please, and for your expertise in architecture and food plant architecture?
Is this working? Yes, I am the president of a firm. We specialize in the food industry around the country. We design food plants anywhere from bakeries. We did a very large bakery up in Clifton, New Jersey a few years ago, about 160,000 square feet. We do meat plants, we do dairy plants, dry powder mixing plants, wet facilities. I've been doing this for 20 years, been with the firm for 20 years. Prior to that, I actually worked in the facilities myself. So we're very well qualified to address these types of projects.
I would ask that the board accept Mr. Redmond as an expert in food-related architecture facilities.
Yes, accepted. Please proceed.
What I'd like to do is kind of, I think, walk through this, maybe the process a little bit. That might help explain some of the, I think, some of the questions that have been coming up. You know, this facility is a facility that takes concentrated powders and liquids, and then, for lack of a better word, dilutes it into other forms for use. Much like you take concentrated orange juice and add water to it to make your orange juice. In this case, they've got both powders and liquids. We've got loading, I want to say dock doors on the back of the facility, and there's 4 doors. The reason we have 4 doors is 2 of them are designated as receiving and 2 of them are designated as shipping. In a facility where you're dealing with food substances, there's a separation requirement from raw materials to finished product materials. So the warehouse is actually separated by a barrier, and the concept is that the 2 doors on the, which way we're looking at, but 2 of the doors on the receiving side are there only for receiving incoming product. And we need 2 doors because by the chance that if one of the doors is blocked or in use and a truck were to come in, we would need a second door for that. The same way with the shipping, the same requirement. Also, at times, often facilities will drop a trailer, and there will be a trailer sitting at the dock door for a period of time, maybe a day or so while it's being loaded, and another truck would come in. It would need a dock door to address that. So that's the reason we have a couple of doors there. I'll talk about the dry operation a little bit. The mixing operation, we take powder and blend it into different substances for final product. As part of that process, there's some bags that might be opened up and dumped into a hopper. But for the most part, it's a contained process. This is actually being done in what's called a clean room. And clean rooms by design are have low particulate counts in terms of dust in the atmosphere. So in order to maintain that, there's HEPA filters in the room that filter the air as it enters the room to maintain that particulate count. And the reason for that is, when you're mixing these products, even though they're in a sealed container, we don't want to enter any kind of exterior contaminants into the product. So as part of the process, though, when you do have to change containers and there are gaps that occur, we have a dust collection system which will evacuate any minuscule dust that would come out of the process. As part of that dust collection system, it goes to a dust collector which is exterior to the building. That dust collector has high efficiency bag filters in it, so it will filter any of the air that comes out of the dust collector, so there will be no particulates that enter the atmosphere as a result. The dust collector sits fairly far away from the property lines. It's very much like a high school wood shop type dust collector you would see outside any high school wood shop. The decibel levels are not extreme. By the time you get to the property line, they'll be way within well below the requirements of any noise ordinances you're going to run into. There's been a question, I think, also on the mechanical equipment on the roof. The top of the parapet, or the top of the highest part of the building, is at 40 feet, which is within the ordinance. There's mechanical equipment as you would see on any roof. There's air conditioning units up there. There's some exhaust from some of the lab hoods up there. The typical exhaust vents, if you will, are 12 feet tall. They're not very visible from the surrounding property. They're very small in diameter. You're not going to see them. They're not going to be very obtrusive. The building itself will be much larger than the actual equipment on the roof. I don't think it's going to be noticed. In fact, from the parking lot, it's not very visible. In terms of any odors being emitted from the facility, again, the dry process is a closed process. There's no byproducts being produced as part of this. They're basically adding things to dilute the product, so there's not a processing going on. It's a mixing and blending operation. The material they're using for that is not an odor creating process. It's all contained in the process, so there will be no odors being emitted from the facility. There is a lab on the second floor. The lab is a quality control lab, and we had mislabeled one of the labs as a fermentation lab. It's not a fermentation facility. It's they're part of the quality control testing processes. They're doing some things, but they're not fermenting any product there. The The lab itself will not have odors being emitted from it. It's the exhaust hoods are mostly for solvents they use that are help with part of the testing process, but there's not going to be any odors being emitted from any of the equipment on the labs.
So that was the point on the environmental report that said a fermentation room. So it's not a fermentation room, it's a QC lab.
Correct.
Okay.
The in the terms of the liquid side, again, there's no. The liquid is a mixing for concentrate. There's no venting of any of that process going to the atmosphere. It's all contained. It's actually a vacuum process. So there's no boiling or creating of vapors that would come off of that process. The wastewater, I know there's been some concern over wastewater. Again, as Mr. Tang pointed out, the wastewater is strictly from a cleaning perspective to clean the equipment. This is not a high volume operation. I can attest to the fact that the processing equipment going in this is not high volume. It's very low volume, even for this size facility. It's a rinsing and washing of the equipment that's going to take place when they go from one batch to the next. They're going to be required to clean the equipment, so they'll clean out the dust and they'll clean out the liquids, if you will, as part of that in the residual that's in the equipment.
So, sir, even on that, on the environmental commission reports, processed waters will be held for dilution. It's not really a processed water. It's a rinse and washing water.
Correct. Yes. So there's no byproducts being.
So I just wanted to clarify that too.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. And it's the volume is going to be below I believe 25,000 gallons per day is one of the requirements, and it's well below that in terms of the wastewater being discharged. I don't know if there's any other. Is there anything else I'm?
Is the owner going to seek any kind of LEED certification for?
No, they're not at this time.
Ventilators, and that type of equipment. It's just during production time, or will it run 24 hours a day?
No, the ventilators will only run during production hours. They will not run in off hours. The same way with the dust collector, that will only run during production times.
So there will not be any outside machinery running after hours besides heating and air conditioning.
Correct. There's a chiller unit that sits outside that will be required to run, obviously, when it's heating and cooling the building.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Oh, I did have one. I had asked it before. The height of the, looks like on the rendering we have, I see at least 3 exhaust stacks. What height are they above the roof?
Those are 12 feet above the roof.
12 feet above the roof?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the public for this witness, the architect? Yes, in the back.
Susan Gullah, Fort Hunt Club Road. Do you have a rendering that we can see of what the building's going to look like, an exhibit?
Yes, I think Mr. Ford has one in his.
Thank you.
A3.
This is the view. What are we looking at? What is this view?
This is. The entrance is here to the building, and that's what you're seeing here. So you would be standing in the parking lot looking this direction.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the architect? Yes, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you again. Now, we see the frontage, it has windows on it. What do we have as far as windows goes on the other sides, and particularly the windows that are facing Willow Road, which would be to your right?
Being a production operation, there's not a lot of windows per se because you've got processing going on inside. So there will be no windows per se. There might be one in the corner here. I'm not positive, but there will be no windows throughout this side. The only ones you really see are on the front there. And there's laboratory test. The QC labs are all in this area on the upper floor. So,
how tall is this building?
It's 40 feet from this sidewalk to the top edge right there.
And do you have any idea how tall the trees are along Willow Road?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for this witness? Seeing none, you can call your fourth witness.
Mr. Dean?
Good evening.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. State your name.
Gary Dean, D-E-A-N.
Mr. Dean, could you give the board the benefit of your experience as a traffic expert?
Certainly. I'm a licensed professional engineer in New Jersey and have been so since 1987. I've appeared, I'll say conservatively, 25 to 30 times in this municipality, and at various times in my career I've served as a traffic consultant to the township. My most recent appearance was for the Green Village residential application on Route 206. And I've been retained by the applicant to assist in an evaluation of the traffic impacts of this application.
Will the board accept Mr. Dean as a traffic expert?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
This application, in my experience, is somewhat unique given the history that has occurred on this property. It is not an undeveloped or meadow site. In fact, it has virtually an identical aggregate building size that formerly existed, roughly 62,000 square feet. However, as Mr. Ford indicated, with substantially more parking to accommodate a substantially more intensive use. The use on the property formerly consisted of office of about 42,000 square feet, and the remaining space was used for laboratory. We did not have the benefit, obviously, to go back in time and collect traffic data for that use. But in relying on typical practices used by traffic engineers with 250 parking spaces, that use would have generated upwards of 150 to perhaps 200 traffic movements in each peak hour. By contrast, you've heard from the applicant their projection of staffing demands for a manufacturing facility, which are production intensive and employee minimized. With only 20 projected employees, you can quickly see that the change in use and the redevelopment of the property will yield very low projected traffic impacts. To quantify those estimates, we prepared a traffic study that was submitted with the application dated November 3rd, 2014. Unless there are specific questions, I won't go into all of the different counts and traffic movements, but for more of the public's benefit and the record, we did conduct peak hour traffic counts along Homestead Road and Willow Road. We evaluated the operation of the intersection during the critical peak hours when employees would be arriving and departing, and of course when residents in the area are commuting or traveling. And we evaluated the impacts of adding not 20 vehicles, but the full build-out of the site, which in our study we conservatively went up to 70 employees. Now, as the board is aware, and the public, this application is only for phase 1 with 20 employees. However, I think in my experience, we would be potentially criticized if we did not consider the full impacts of building out the site, at least as have been conceptually depicted on the plans. So we undertook that analysis, and I think it was in Mr. White's memorandum some question as to the level of that projection, but I want to clear, we did assume, and our study contemplates full build-out, both phases of this site. There will be a traffic impact. Obviously, there's nothing generated on the site today. However, in looking at traffic patterns, in evaluating by the counts that we conducted, we have concluded that the roadway system can accommodate the traffic and that it will not create a negative impact. It will not create congestion or significantly increase delays along either Homestead Road or Willow Road. Obviously, as a permitted use, your zone plan and ordinance anticipates the development of this site in accordance with that plan. And as a variance-free and design waiver-free application, I think we comply with all of the appropriate standards and regulations envisioned in your ordinance. Our review also focused on the circulation, as was described by Mr. Ford, and I think it's a very helpful design for a manufacturing facility, that the segregation between the trucking, delivery, and receiving activities from the primary parking areas for employees is very beneficial. It allows the maneuvering of the trucks to the rear or southern side of the building to occur without any interference from employee or visitor traffic. That activity will be maintained on the northerly side of the building within the parking area. Two-way flow is provided around the building, not only for delivery activity, but obviously for emergency response should that ever be needed. And again, the width of those access drives all comply with your ordinance, and such will be designated with appropriate fire lanes to ensure that there would be unencumbered circulation. With that, you heard from Mr. Ford that the applicant has agreed to prohibit trucks from turning right and exiting the property to the east to reach Willow Road. There is no way to prohibit entering trucks from doing the same, but for governing body taking action to prohibit truck activity on Willow Road itself. That's not anything the applicant can control as far as inbound, but certainly outbound, that can be regulated, and you've heard that would be amended on the final plans. I think it was testified to, the anticipated truck frequency is 1 to 2 per week. So the impact, unless literally someone spends an entire business day to watch the activity coming from the site, that truck activity would be imperceptible. To put it in a perspective, when we did our traffic counts along Willow Road, there are roughly 20 trucks per hour using Willow Road based on our counts. And so that this applicant would at 1 truck per week, even if it went on Willow Road, it would be an imperceptible difference. But certainly the governing body, as I've indicated, has the power to enable restrictions should that be necessary in the future. And with that, we've concluded that the elimination, again, it was pointed out that there are 4 driveways on Homestead Road. Those will be reduced to 2 driveways. They will be located at points along Homestead Road where site visibility is adequate, so that motorists entering and exiting have clear lines of sight. And in my opinion, it's been designed with safe and efficient ingress, egress, and circulation. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board or the public may have as appropriate.
What's your sense of the sight lines for the driveways with Homestead Road, given the proposed landscaping?
There is a requirement in Mr. White's memorandum that site triangles be implemented, more for the public's benefit. Those are designated areas that are recorded on the final plan with a meets and bounds description. The purpose of a site triangle is to ensure that permanent obstructions, signs, fences, any man-made materials, and landscaping are maintained to ensure perpetual clear visibility of approaching traffic. Those will be included on the final plan set as recommended. And with proper landscaping, and if the final species haven't been chosen, I would recommend that they're low-level ground-type landscaping maintained below 30 inches in perpetuity.
Questions from the board? From the pub? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, Dr. Jersey, I think it's also important that it's recognized that Bill's report and mine indicate that a site triangle easement agreement ought to be required at the intersection of both Willow and Homestead as well, not just the driveways.
Yes, that if they don't exist already, certainly to provide public clear lines of sight at the municipal street intersection, those would be provided as well. Certainly.
Thank you. Okay. Bill, anything else?
I think, Mr. Dean, you indicated that the truck traffic coming in around the back of the building, it's two-way flow. Do you see any benefit to creating just a one-way flow? I mean, I just found out this afternoon that basically we're only looking at 1 to 2 trucks a day, or a week, I mean, so I was assuming there would be much more truck traffic when I made that comment.
Well, obviously the plan has been designed with essentially the mirror image for a potential Phase 2 building. I believe your ordinance requires 30-foot wide access aisles, which is wider than a subdivision street. It can certainly accommodate the two-way truck flow very easily. So I'm not sure the rationale or reason to restrict one-way traffic flow. And obviously for emergency response, they're going to come in the quickest and most direct fashion. So I don't see a benefit or reason of providing it. And 1 or 2 trucks per week, it's certainly not anything that is likely to create a conflict or need for it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Questions from the public for the traffic expert about traffic? Yes, this is where you come in. Thank you.
Gail Martin, 237 Hillsborough Road. I have a question about the traffic study was done in October, and that traffic around that area, I feel the heaviest is during the summer months because you have the ball field down on Willow Road, and you also have the football fields down on the other side of Hillsborough Road.
Is there a question?
Yes.
Sorry.
Why was it done in October when the heaviest traffic, I feel, is between the summer months, spring and summer?
Well, I've been involved in the past 30 years in several thousand traffic studies, and sometimes we don't have the luxury of conducting traffic counts in October or May or April. And in the months where we've had to conduct traffic counts in July and August, the first question from the public is, you did your counts in the summer. We know everyone's on vacation and traffic's lower than it is during the school year. So I believe, and in my experience, taking our traffic counts when schools are in session, when people are not on vacation, is representative of those conditions we expect for 9 months of the year. And in October, we don't have inclement weather. I looked at the photographs when the counts were conducted. It was a clear day. Temperatures were mid-70s. So certainly the weather was favorable, and it is as representative of typical conditions in my experience that we could see.
Okay, I also noticed in the traffic study there was no mention of the bypass. Currently the bypass isn't open, but we all know it's going to be open soon. The exit ramp is on Hillsborough Road, which will feed a lot of traffic down Hillsborough Road to the Willow Road-Hillsborough intersection. I was wondering if that was considered.
Not specifically. Again, with the very low traffic activity we're forecasting for this site, I'm not anticipating that a 5 or 10% swing one direction or other would have an impact. We have assumed that 50% of the site traffic would arrive and depart from the south on Willow Road, so it does reflect that improvement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes. I saw you, Susan. Yeah.
Susan Gullah, Fort Hunt Club Road. I have a question about the two exits. As you go westbound off of Willow, there's that slope up, and you don't really have a sight till it straightens out a little bit. That exit, the westernmost one, is that, it's after it flattens out at the top of that slope?
Yes, the proposed, and I'll point to exhibit, I believe it's A2. I'll point to both. There's an existing driveway that serves the property today. It's the easternmost driveway, forgive me for standing in front of anyone, and that's roughly at station, about 350 west of Willow Road. The high point, when it comes up the crest from Willow and then Homestead starts to flatten out, is closer to the vicinity of Station 500. And now I'm going to refer to A2. The proposed site driveway is at that plateau, not on the incline, but as it levels off. So by locating it at the high point, the driveway is providing the maximum distance and visibility to Willow Road, but it's further than it is today, that closest driveway. So we have taken that into consideration.
Yes.
Suzanne Oxy, 425 Willow Road. You're using the projection or using the data of 20 employees or 20 people coming each day. So it will not be more than 20 people in phase one ever?
Our study has assumed 70.
Okay. But 20, Mr. Tang, 20 is the maximum in phase one ever.
Mr. Tang is not testifying now, and the board has already heard testimony on the number of people anticipated.
Yes, we heard 20 for phase one.
Just so we're clear, can you just confirm, phase one is expected to be about 20 employees, and you built your study assuming phase two would be built and at 70 people?
That is correct.
Okay, so even with the 20 now, we're significantly low where you've assumed your testing.
That's absolutely correct.
Any other questions for the traffic engineer? Okay, seeing none.
Thank you for your time.
Counselor?
I'd just like to thank the board for
Speak into
just like to thank the board for the time spent on this application this evening, and just to sum it up, to say that we're taking what was an abandoned, blighted factory and turning it into a clean, modern, safe, and efficient facility with very few employees, very little traffic, very little impact, a single shift from 9 to 5, and that also, as you heard in the testimony, it will be complying with every state, local, and federal rule and regulation, and complies with the zoning and seeks no variances nor design waivers. Thank you.
Bill?
No.
Bruce?
No, sir.
Eric?
Nothing. Other public comment.
Board members?
Need a motion to close public comment?
No, they have, right.
Okay.
Just anything you wanted to say at this point? No? Okay. I guess the public gets last questions and comments. Yes, Mr. Gordon. Yes, yes, of course. Yeah.
Because this is a manufacturing building going in here now, my question is, what happens with power failures? Is the company going to be installing backup generators to require their proper refrigeration and the air conditioning and the pumps and the filters that they have to put in here? Could someone address that for me, please?
Yes. Applicant, pick whoever needs to address that.
Mr. Eben, our architect, will address that in a second.
Mind you're still under oath.
Yes, we have no plans for any backup generators. The facility is not the product is shelf stable, so there's no need. There's a small cooler in the facility, but it's probably 400 square feet, and it's just for storage of samples and other products. So there is no need for a backup generator.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Yes? That's okay.
I wanted to ask a question to Mr. Tang. Can I do that?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. Mr. Tang, when did you buy the property?
Yeah, he'll come up. Come sit down so that you have that microphone to use. And
I'm still on the oath.
Pardon me?
I'm still on the oath.
Yes.
Okay.
When did you purchase the property?
Oh, when did the company purchase the property? Not me.
Yes, well, not you, maybe the company.
I believe the property was purchased at the end of 2012. Yeah. It's December.
December of 2012?
No, December 2013. Yeah.
December of 2000, a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago.
And who did you buy it from?
The previous owner. I don't remember. Truly, I don't remember the name.
If you don't remember the name of the previous company or owner, then say so. Give the best answer you can.
Thank you, sir.
No, I'm just saying, that's what you do.
And so you don't recall. So when did you learn about that this property was available?
We were told that this property is available by a search on the internet.
By a search company?
No. We just go on internet doing a search for industrial land for sale in state of New Jersey, and we found a list of property. Then we paid a visit to various of those property, and we decided to purchase this one.
He said they did an internet search, is what he said.
So you looked around New Jersey, and this was suitable for a factory for you, you're saying?
Yeah, I believe so.
Prior to you your company purchasing this site, did you have any conversations with the township officials, staff, members of the boards and commissions?
Yes, I believe. We had a conversation with the township. I think specifically Mr. Jim Strapinski regarding the use of this land. Because before you buy this land, you have to make sure the intended use is permitted in this land. So that's why we decided to purchase this land.
Just for the record, Gene Strapinski, who's in the back, is the business advocate for the township, and that is his job to talk to prospective businesses.
Did you consider any other sites in town for the factory?
No, that's the only property available suitable for us.
So that's the only site Mr. Sapinski talked to you about?
No, Mr. Strapinski had nothing to do with the purchase of the land. It's our decision. And it's our decision to background check all the due diligence before we actually acquire this land, to make sure we will be able to use this land. Otherwise, it will be useless.
Did you know what the zoning was? Probably not. Before this transitional zone, it was corporate development zone. Did you know that? No.
I don't know.
Can anyone speak to that? Any of the people here.
What's the issue?
I don't see how there's any relevance to the site plan application.
I would advise the board not to respond to that question, please.
I mean, that would be a matter of record with the township. So we wouldn't want to speak without knowing for certain, but the township would have records on that. Any other questions? Again, for any of the, yes, in the back.
My name is Pat McGee. I live on 10 Francis Drive, and our property is about 500 feet from the property we're talking about tonight. So as part of the community, I have some questions about, I've heard a lot about bulk processing. So 1 or 2 trucks are coming in a week, but I haven't heard what's going out. Is it going out as bulk, or is it a packaging facility where you have package lines and other kinds of materials?
Yeah.
Yes, the completed product will go out in bulk too, because the customer will be big size food or drink company. They orders in large quantities.
So I think, did you just say you don't sell directly to consumers, but you sell to people who then put your product in their products? Is
Yes,
that what
that's
you're saying?
correct. We don't sell to retail customers.
I see.
So just so I have a better understanding, when you're diluting something with water, it's going in as a solution. Is it going out as a tanker, like a tanker truck, or is it going out in drums of some kind?
Yeah, actually, you're right. It's going out in drums. It's a standard size drum, if it's liquid.
Okay. Just wanted
Thank
to
you.
understand. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Oh. Yes, comments as well. People have been asking questions, so I said questions. You have comments? Raise your hand. Fine.
Bill Trethway, 1274 Millstone River Road. I'd like to say the applicant, this looks like a very good job of taking an area and making as low impact as you possibly can on the local residents and moving the area. And to the engineer and the architect, looks like you've considered very much everybody. And I think that this is a reasonable use for the site. It matches all the zoning and everything. I am a little bit surprised that at least one member of the planning board indicated from the dais that he was predisposed towards approval. But I think that after listening to all the testimony, I would tend to agree. Thank you.
Did I say I was predisposed? No, you just said you hated them.
Uh-huh. Any other comments? Seeing none, motion to close public.
So moved again.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion?
After tonight's testimony, I move that we accept this application.
Approve.
Approve.
And
Sorry.
this would be with all...
With all conditions, agreements, comments made by the professionals, testimony submitted, agreements made on the record, subject to obviously also the appropriate governmental authority approvals as required not only by this municipality, but where applicable, county and state.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, that comment is at this point out of order. Public comment has been closed, and it's a bit late for that. So we have a motion, we have a second.
I would ask that the motion also be amended that include the granting of the waiver to the community impact statement.
Yes.
And all other waivers, any other waiver requests.
That's one of the, right, that's right. Exactly.
So we need the maker and the seconder to agree to the amendment.
Motion, as per counselor.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, ready to vote? Roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Dr. Maruli.
Yes.
Mr. Merninger.
Yes.
Mr. Peason.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Committeeman Delcor.
So it's rare that we see an application that is fully compliant like this, that takes a property that's blighted and turns it into a nice, small, little business for here in town. I certainly understand the concerns that are raised, but I think we have a fully compliant application, and I'd like to thank the applicant for their work to make sure that they're addressing all of the concerns of all the boards. So, yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett.
To the applicant, thank you. You've done a great job. You look to be like you're going to be a great neighbor, and my vote is yes.
And Chairman Dr. Cerisi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. There being no further business, what, you have something?
Board of Adjustment, a report.
I said that already. I took that out of order.
Sorry.
I said that already. There being no further business, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.